Three, two, one.
Action.
All right. Hey, Nick. How are you?
Exhausting. Actually, not really. Actually, no,
No.
yeah, I woke up way too early today, but that's besides the point.
How's the weather by you? It's raining like all heck here.
Um, I have no idea. There's no windows down here, and I've been playing Halo for the last couple hours.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, that'll do it. Did you start your job?
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
And how's it going so far?
It's easy and it's paying. That's all it really needs to be, huh?
Yeah, that is all it needs to be. Okay, that's excellent. All right.
Needed
Well,
to
let's
be.
get going. Welcome, everybody. We're here for episode number 28, Untitled ZX. I'm Uncle Frank, and this is Nick.
We did establish that, yes.
Yes, I guess people know by now.
True.
But we got a lot of new people listening, Nick. You never know. So.
You never know.
All right, we got a couple of movie reviews and we're going to do some news about San Diego Comic-Con. So let's jump in. First one, Hadestown, the musical.
So
How was it?
I I mentioned this last week, but I'm gonna preface this again. This is a recorded version of the iconic Broadway musical. I'm not a musical guy. I'm not a Broadway guy. This is not my alley. But when I was in London 2 years ago, we went to the West End British performance of this play. Different cast, obviously. They got the original Broadway cast for this recording. So different cast. So again, I'm prefacing it's not quite as engaging as seeing it in person, especially
Mhm.
considering the nature of how the story is sort of portrayed. The whole
Mhm.
premise is this is sort of a reimagining of the myth, the Greek myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, but it also intertwines with the myth of Hades and Persephone, except they've set it in like 1930s Industrial Revolution, Great Depression America, which is
Hmm.
an interesting sort of take on the story because it's got some really good sort of allegorical stuff. But the way the story is sort of framed is the messenger god Hermes is talking to the audience. They are telling us the story and it's entirely sung through. There's no like regular spoken dialogue.
Hmm.
But again, I feel like the audience sort of engagement, it's not like a fully interactive. The most is like, but the actor who plays Hermes has to sort of engage the audience, which I
Hmm.
think Hermes is the one character in this play whose gender literally does not matter. There, so Hermes has been played by both men and women. In London, Hermes was played by a lady named Melanie LaBerry. She was great. She was very good at engaging the audience,
Hmm.
but it's a little difficult to do that through a recording. So
Right.
not quite the same experience. It lets you get closer up, which I think definitely helped a bit. That's one of the main reasons I'm not too keen on stage plays, is you can't get up close. You can't really appreciate the subtleties of the actor's facial expressions
Yeah.
and body movements because you're watching it from such a distance. So I think this definitely added that layer to it while taking out that sort of audience engagement. And again, it's not like an interactive play per se. It's more just like the opening song opens with like there's points where Hermes is supposed to encourage the audience to sort of clap to the beat. At
Yeah.
points like the
Yeah. Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
especially in that first song. The guy who plays
I
Hermes.
kind of always feel like going to a play is just a different kind of experience than going to a movie. Like they're two different purposes. So whenever they record a play, I don't know. I always find it a little bit weird. You can never really capture the live event. To me, it's the same as like if you're watching a baseball game on TV, it's a totally different experience than going to the baseball game, because you go to the baseball game, it's about the peanuts and the crowd and the cheering and people doing the wave and the game itself, of course, but it's a different focus. And I imagine it's the same thing here.
Yeah, but that considered, again, I was used to a different cast, and I think both casts were pretty good, but they had
Hmm.
sort of different strengths. Particularly, I like the guy who played Orpheus in this a lot more than I like the guy who played him in London. I don't remember
Hmm.
the name of the guy who played him in London, but he had the heaviest Scottish accent like imaginable, and it was very noticeable in his singing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's taken me out a little bit. But this
Yeah.
guy
Well,
is obviously not Scottish, so
right.
I
Yeah.
actually think most of the cast did really well here. And this was supposedly they hadn't been on stage for this performance in a while. Like this, they didn't record during its original Broadway run. They reunited the cast specifically for this recording. At the
hmm
beginning of the film, they actually specified that they did record in London because they show a bit of that audience engagement, especially during that opening sort of intro song where Hermes tries to get the audience pumped up for what's about to come.
So this cast was mainly American, but they filmed it in London.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
guess a better stage. Remember if it, I don't know if it was the same stage I don't know if it was the same West End location that I went to that they shot it at, but
Right.
it
The
might
other
have been,
side.
it might not have been. I have no idea, but
Yeah.
they recorded this sometime last fall, I believe. Um,
Got it. So the cast was good. What else was done well, you think?
um, I think the thing is that it's a compelling narrative already. The whole Orpheus and
hmm
Eurydice. I'm going to always pronounce that name wrong, always.
hmm
As much as I try not to, and I've been trying for the sake of this review, but it's not happening. We're not
So the
pronouncing
story
it.
itself is cool, you're saying.
It's sort of engaging. It's sort of a tragic love story, which is sort of what it
hmm
is. The whole premise is, and again, I think setting it in the Great Depression was kind of brilliant, where it's
hmm
like this is a rough time. Eurydice is struggling in poverty and desperately wants someone to provide for her, needs food, you know?
hmm
And when she meets and falls for Orpheus, she just hopes he can provide. And he insists he can with this like magic song he's trying to write, which has been like blessed by the gods or something to restore
hmm
spring because the world sucks now because Hades and decided he was gonna marry Persephone. Um,
hmm
and again, the whole I guess we're going to delve a little bit into spoilery territory, but this myth is probably is also older than recorded history, so I don't think it really
Yeah, you'll be all
matters.
right. Don't worry.
Yeah. It's like the Odyssey last week. It's like we're
Well,
gonna
it is interesting that yeah, the Odyssey myths sort of spill over here, I guess. So
yeah. It doesn't really have overly many like character like overlaps though. Like I mean I guess Hades, but Hades doesn't physically appear in the Odyssey.
right.
Not in this incarnation of it anyway. In the original myth, I think he might have, but I think the gods appeared more physically in the original myth compared to the Nolan movie. But
Yeah.
this obviously, again, is a very different version. And I think Hades
Yeah.
was actually really interesting the way they sort of did him. And a lot of this is me parroting or clarifying my thoughts following seeing the actual play. I was able to follow the lyrics a little better because not everybody had a ridiculous accent, but
Yeah.
so I was able to sort of keep up with the lyrics and follow the story a little better. I mean, I didn't, I won't say I struggled with the story. Like, even if I didn't entirely understand the words when they were with the accents, I still could figure out what was going on. Like, it was conveyed
Yeah.
clear enough that I knew what happened. I knew what was going on.
Tell me about how did they shoot the camera work here? I
Yeah,
gotta
there was,
imagine when they're
it
doing a
wasn't
play,
like,
it's weird.
yeah, it wasn't like overly mind-blowing, but there were a couple shots that honestly, I kind of expected it to be shot fairly generically due to it just being a recorded play, but there were a couple times where they played with the camera. It was never anything like crazy, like
Yeah, I can
mind-blowing.
imagine most of the cameras on the whole stage, basically.
No,
Then
no, they did a lot of close-up shots.
they're cutting in.
They were doing a lot more close-up shots, which again, I think is the one thing that these recorded versions have over the sort of the actual physical on-screen or on-stage event is that you can get up close with the camera. You can't do
Right,
that when you're sitting in a crowd.
right.
It's very different watching an actor on a in a film versus on a play because you can get up close with that camera. You can sort of get closer to the um their expressions, their body movements, their sort of
hmm
more subtle things that you won't see from a distance.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So that's cool that they're able to do some of that. So
Yeah.
you think they'll make this into a real movie at some point? Because, it's been,
Came out
I
of
wonder if they would make it a musical or whether they would,
I feel like it
actually
would
make a
be.
story of it.
I feel like you'd have to make it a musical because that's what it is. This is a musical. This is a
Yeah.
reimagining. Like this isn't straight up just like yes, it is an adaptation of several myths, but it's a reimagining. It's not set in ancient Greece. It just uses the ancient Greek mythology as sort of an overview. This actual, again, it's set in industrial, like Great Depression era America, and
Hmm.
the underworld, hell, or as the title of the play suggests, Hadestown, is depicted as almost like this industrial nightmare where we've got where you see like these ununionized workers who are severely undertreated. Hades
Hmm.
being this shady businessman who comes off as a bit predatory at times, but also
Hmm.
he's manipulative. He manipulates Eurydice into working for him in exchange to basically sell her soul because he promises her something better, something he can't actually offer her, but he's very good at convincing her.
Hmm.
And that's sort of how the
Yeah.
whole myth goes, because Orpheus doesn't notice because he's busy working on his song, and then when he finds out she's gone, he finds another way into the underworld where he has to literally climb through hell to find her
Hmm.
and try and persuade Hades. And he does it with this
But
song.
I could see a drama of this even without songs. You know, there's enough material here to make a
There's
drama out of it.
definitely enough material, but I feel like taking the songs out of it would kind of just ruin
Ruin
the
it.
point of the writer's sort of vision
Hmm.
because the writer wrote this made probably 20 years ago, 20 plus years
Right.
ago. It was, I'm pretty sure, done as like the first version of it was done as like a small time play that wasn't a big deal. When it
Hmm.
stopped doing well, she released it as a concept album, and then she partnered with another playwright to do a second draft of it, who and she would go
Yeah.
on to again make it big, and it ended up being a huge hit, award winner, box office success. I mean, still talked about years later. And again, this recorded version is actually doing fairly well at the box office. It was originally intended to be a 5 night limited, like 5 nights only limited kind of thing, but they ended up
Hmm.
extending the theatrical run for this.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool. Well, I expect in this day and age we will see it as a full-length movie at some point, but
I
yeah, I
think
guess we'll
that would
see.
help it too, because I think my biggest issue is from its inherent sort of being a professionally shot stage play is the play only has two main sets and they switch out props from time to time. But the play
Right.
is split into two acts, which means there are only two main sets, and it is exactly the same as the sets that they used at West
Hmm.
End. It's two sets. They have two main set pieces, and
Hmm.
they just switch out props
Yeah,
and side
couple
pieces to
pieces, yeah.
change the aesthetic a little bit. The lighting has to do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Hmm.
But I feel like
Yeah.
with like proper film sets and a more fleshed out environment, this could be a legitimately compelling film. They have to get people who can sing. It would have to be a musical. Again,
Right.
that's one of the things where it's like you cannot demusicalify some things. It's actually there's been a lot of musical adaptations of like Greek mythology lately. There's one Ryan actually talked about it a bit last week when we were talking about the Odyssey called Epic the Musical, which again, whole shtick guy wrote a couple guy wanted to go into theater, wrote a musical slash anime inspired retelling of the Odyssey. No one bought
Hmm.
it, so he just released the songs online. He got a cast together, released the songs online, blew up overnight. And now
Hmm.
he's got to deal with Jerry Bruckheimer to produce an animated feature film, as well as supposedly he's in the process of trying to get a stage play adaptation and two different video game adaptations made.
I mean, that's the one thing about yeah, YouTube and all those, you know, these kinds of things can blow up sometimes. So,
Yeah, and I think that's the fun of I think that's the fun of these like old mythologies where you're not really confined to
mhm.
like public domain, considering these predated copyright laws by about
Yeah.
3,000 years, but
Yeah.
is you can sort of experiment with it. You don't have to be 100% like to the T with the myth. You can reinterpret and reinvent the myth
Hmm.
in different, more contemporary settings or take
Yeah.
inspiration.
Well, and there's still classic stories and people still recognize them. So,
People
yeah.
recognize them even when you turn them into something completely different.
Yeah.
You can turn them into
Well,
something entirely different. And
What's your score? What kind of score do you give this one then?
like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. Like it's a very well made and compelling and extremely well written musical. It's just
Yeah.
limited.
As long as you like musicals.
Yeah.
So,
Even I don't care for them that much, but I think the mythological aspect and sort of the Industrial Revolution allegory actually makes it work really well for someone like me.
yeah.
That and the fact that the cast are all very charismatic, which
Yeah. All right, let's keep moving. Next, we got The Invite. Now, this one's on streaming or in the theaters.
um it might be on streaming by now. It came out in theaters like a month ago and they were just still
Yeah.
showing it. And I was bored because everyone else was at the shore this week.
It's
I
got some pretty famous people in it.
Yeah, that cast list, by the way, those actors, that is not
Mhm.
just some of the cast. That is not just the lead. No, that's the entire cast of the movie. There
Okay.
are only the four of them.
So tell me what it's about.
So this is sort of a comedy drama where it's about this like married couple
Okay.
who are not in a very good place in their relationship, and they invite their eccentric, very loud, very disturbing upstairs neighbors over for dinner as an apology for the noise they made while renovating their apartment. Their marriage is on thin ice, and it's very, very obvious, this couple. You've got Joe, who's played by Seth Rogen, and
hmm
Angela, who's played by Olivia Wilde, who also directed the film.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that, but yeah. Okay. Those are the two main characters.
Yeah, and it sort of gets progressively unhinged as they sort of figure out why in tarnation their neighbors are so loud,
hmm
and it gets very out of pocket.
So is it mostly comedy?
It's a weird mix where there's like the comedy stems, sometimes it's like laugh out loud hysterical, sometimes it's like uncomfortable kind of funny. Like there's several points where the movie tries to make you extremely uncomfortable to mostly or almost entirely success. And the
Sorry, and what is it rated, this movie, by the way?
R,
Rated R. Okay.
very
Okay.
much rated R. Not,
Got it. Okay. Well,
not
what did they do well?
Olivia Wilde, I've seen her in a couple things as an actress before. I remember she was in Tron Legacy like 15 years ago.
hmm
But she's apparently made this is not her first feature. She's directed two or three before this. This is the
hmm
first one she's directed, but my God, she is insane behind the camera. The blocking and the framing of every shot feels so incredibly deliberate and so incredibly sort of precisely planned.
hmm Yeah.
Like there
Okay.
are so many shots. Like this is sort of a weird movie, not even a weird movie. I've actually seen people say that it's a movie that feels like a play, which makes sense because it is set entirely in one setting. They are in the
hmm
one apartment for the entire nearly 2 hours, and
Yeah.
it never feels dry at any point. From the different rooms, the lighting, the framing, it makes the entire thing like again feel not stale.
Okay. I wonder who wrote it. Do you know anything about the writer?
Um, I looked it up the other day, but I'm blanking on the name.
hmm
Screenplay was actually kind of brilliant too. The way it sort of blends the comedy and the more dramatic elements and makes them flow in a way that isn't jarring and almost makes them bounce off of each other really well.
But it wasn't Olivia Wilde didn't write. She didn't write it or screenplay it.
I do not think no, she did not write the screenplay for this film.
Okay.
She only directed it. Again, directed it very well.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to hear. I know she's directed a few things, so yeah.
Yeah, this is, I want to say, her third feature, and she's got another one coming out next year too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I know there's some weird thing going on in the last couple. None of them were like big movies, but from what I remember, but yeah. How about Seth Rogen?
His performance here is so good that I can almost forgive his involvement in Animal Farm.
Okay.
Um, he's kind of a bizarre actor because because he'll be in like several like terrible movies where he gives like terrible performances, and then every once in a while he'll like lock in and give you like the greatest performance you've ever seen.
I never thought of him as like a real robust actor, really. Like he seems like he is who he is, and that's how he's going to be on the screen. And in fact, when I've seen him like do interviews on late shows, it seemed like just like the same person who was on the screen when he was in the movie too. So,
I think this movie definitely works a little bit around that. Like he has that like signature sort of very loud style of humor that he does,
mhm.
which is just sort of him losing his mind. Here it's him sort of progressively crashing out because for a solid like third of the movie he feels like everyone else knows what's going on but him.
Yeah,
And he's
okay.
like, what in God's name? And eventually he just blows up. His character is also sort of like passive aggressive and brutally like honest.
Yeah, that tends to be him too. I think his comedy is that way, it feels like.
Yeah, it's like there's a whole like running bit where you've got Angela, the wife, who's trying really hard to impress these neighbors because she thinks they're like the perfect people. And then him who really, really hates the neighbors and is doing a really, really poor job of concealing
Hmm.
that fact,
Yeah.
trying his hardest not to, but not really trying that hard. And I think the dynamic he has with Edward Norton is actually really funny because Edward Norton's like, that's what I like about you, Joe. You're honest. And he's like,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, Edward Norton is a great actor. I mean, he's usually always good.
Yeah, he has a very different sort of, because he can be very funny, but he can also be good in dramatic roles. And I think that's why he does something like this so well, because he can be funny. He's got a little more subtle style of humor, which is sort of here it's sort of in just the random moments where he'll just switch up. He'll be like acting totally normal, and then he'll fall to his knees to admire the rug on the floor. Actual scene in the movie, by the way.
Yeah, I feel like he's done a little bit of everything. I mean, he's been in action movies, he's done comedies, he did Fight Club.
He
I
was
mean,
he was the Hulk for one movie before they
he was the
recast
Hulk for a
him.
little while. So like, yeah, I feel like he's done a ton of stuff, but yeah.
And I think the
Yeah.
thing is there's sort of like we have an idea of going into it what it almost tricks you into thinking you know what's going on pretty early on
Mhm. Yeah.
because again you see the failing marriage between the two of them and you see Seth Rogen's character who is miserable and in a bad mood all the time and in pain and he really does not want to deal with these neighbors because these neighbors are right above them and they are very loud with their sexual activities to the point
Yeah.
where he can hear them at like 3 in the morning and he's just like what in God's name, and he's like fine, if you're gonna let them over then I am gonna bring it up, and she's like do not bring it up, and he's like I'm gonna bring it up, and she does a very good job redirecting him for about the first half
Yeah.
hour before he finally lets it slip because Edward Norton and Penelope Cruz, the other couple, the neighbors, are like, "Yeah, no, you're lying to us, and I don't appreciate that." And he's like, "Okay, yes, I don't like it." They're like, "Can we get some context?" And this other
Uh,
couple is apparently extremely open about their sexual life, and by open I mean they let other people into it too.
gotcha.
Like the
Gotcha.
whole twist is that they've been hosting sex parties upstairs, and that's why it's been so loud, and then they end up trying finding this weird where Edward Norton, who is also brutally honest and sometimes says things he shouldn't, where it's just like did you come here to try to invite us to your sex parties? And he's like, well, no. Well, yes, technically, but not just that. And then Penelope Cruz's character, his wife, is like, you were not supposed to say that. And he's like, oh. And
So you would say the ending had a bit of a twist or a
that
bit of
wasn't
a
even the ending. That was maybe a third of the way. That was maybe two-thirds of the way through the movie. That leads into sort of the third act, which
got
the
it.
third act was kind of insane because they end up trying to bring them into it. They're open to the idea, but it falls apart pretty early during the build-up because Seth Rogen falls over and hurts his back, and they sort of recognize what's gone wrong because it sort of ends up being them almost using it as a therapy session for their marriage because Penelope Cruz's character just breaks down and starts screaming at everyone. She screams at Edward Norton because he's like he always cuts her off because her English isn't that good, and
Uh-huh.
She's just like, your Spanish is terrible, but I never say anything to you. And
All
she
right.
then
Sounds pretty interesting.
it's sort of the way the third act ends up going is it ends up turning into she realizes why they can't be part of this at all because their relationship is toxic and unhealthy, and she inadvertently makes a therapy session for them where they both confess exactly how they're feeling and why they're feeling that way, and they get their chances to finally let out their honest feelings to each other. And she's like, yeah, no, the way you two act, the way you two talk to each other, your marriage is like over. You don't even like each other anymore. You hate each other. But they end up actually tying it in. Once the two neighbors leave, it's just the two of them, and the last like 5 to 10 minutes of the movie is almost entirely silent. But there's
Hmm.
sort of something that ties back to the very start of the movie. The opening of the movie with like the opening logos is you hear a like muffled flashback to much earlier in their relationship with the two of them playing on Seth Rogen's piano. And
Hmm.
throughout the movie, he vehemently refuses to let anybody touch the piano or open the piano or play the piano and vehemently refuses to do so himself. The piano ends up being an allegory for both of their openness to that relationship. And at the very end of the movie, he insists that he should just sleep in his office because of how bad their relationship is when they go to bed. And then he goes in and he finally starts playing the piano again. The final shot of the movie is like they're zooming out of the window. She comes into the room and starts playing the piano with him. And that's almost them trying to rekindle their relationship, which I think
So
I
they needed to almost go to this crazy, crazy place to be honest about everything and really find their way back.
exactly. And I
Hmm.
think that was kind of like, and again, it was there was no dialogue for the last like 5 minutes.
Maybe that was kind of the point, I guess. Most people
Yes.
don't go to that depth, but often you need to go there.
Yeah, you need to end up at a point where you can scream your genuine, honest feelings about the other to each other, which maybe can help you realize where both of you have gone wrong and
Yeah.
what it would take to sort of bring you back together.
Hmm.
And that
All
maybe it's
right.
not.
Who would imagine a movie like this being a little bit of a love story in a way?
Yeah, it's
Like
insanely telling. It's like,
in an insane, raunchy, weird, roundabout way.
yeah, it's such a bizarre movie, but it's also
Yeah.
so brilliant in the way it handles its own absurdity and ends
Hmm.
up turning that absurdity into something endearing instead.
Okay. All right. It sounds like something I could watch sometime.
Yeah, and
So,
the Olivia Wilde is actually directing another movie that she's filming. I'm not sure if she's filming it yet, but she's already got the release date lined up. It comes out in November of 2027 with it's got Jennifer Aniston and Peter Dinklage in that one.
hmm. Yeah, she's been pretty active. Yeah. So,
Yeah, she's
and I
been in
remember
a lot of movies
I think
too.
she was in a TV show years and years ago. And so it's interesting to watch her evolve like this. So,
Yeah, she's going to be in a couple. She's going to be in Tony Gilroy's new movie, Behemoth, that we talked about the trailer last week.
okay. All right. So that sounds like a decent one for people to watch. Well, you got a rating for it?
I give it a 9 out of 10. The raunchy humor is a little much for me at times, but the
Yeah.
screenplay balances everything in a way that's so kind of genius that I can't really let that hold it back much.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about San Diego Comic-Con. We
I
got
had
some new
hoped there
news.
would be, I had hoped there'd be a little more, but there was in fact not as much as I'd thought
All
we'd
right.
have going into it. I mean, there's Star Wars action figure news, but there's not really much to break down in the realm of action figures here.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Something happened with Blade Runner.
Yes, this is Blade Runner 2049 is a TV series. It's been in development, a TV miniseries with it's going to have 8 episodes. It
Mhm.
has been in development for a long time. I think it wrapped shooting probably 2 years ago, but this
Wow.
takes place, as the title suggests, 50 years after um the second film, Blade Runner 2049,
Hmm.
which I don't see it living up to that movie at all. 2049 was a masterpiece directed by the great, wonderful Denis Villeneuve.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, we're not going to get a Denis Villeneuve level masterpiece with this because he's going to give up. we're going to get a Denis Villeneuve level masterpiece with Denis Villeneuve's Dune 3, but we're not here to talk about that. I just felt like bringing it up.
Well, I'm curious. It'll be curious to see what they project for 2099 because I feel like I don't know 2049. If you think about what it's going to look like in the future, you can
Not like
maybe get there because not that far away. But
definitely not.
2099,
Even 2049 is not going to be a realistic depiction because 2049 took place 30 years after the original Blade Runner, which came out in 1982, but it was set in 2019, and
right?
2019 Chicago did not look like that. So
Yeah. I just meant that 2049 something like you can imagine what it's like today, but just a little more tech advanced. 2099, so far away. I can't even imagine all the technology. It must be around by
so
then.
our two stars are Michelle Yeoh
Mm-hmm.
and Hunter Schafer, and
Mm-hmm.
future in this future after the events of 2049, the replicants or the artificial humans from the Blade Runner films have risen up and revolted against their human overlords because the whole thing with the first two movies is that they're treated as lesser by humans and they are generally hunted. There are replicants created to hunt other replicants, which leads Ryan Gosling's Officer K to have sort of a moral dilemma in the second film. Obviously, this is 50 years later, so he died at the end of 2049, and Harrison Ford's Deckard probably died off screen since he was old in 2049. But
Mm-hmm.
this they showed off a trailer.
Okay.
I'm not entirely like blown away. Like I don't see this being something that's going to blow me away. I think it'll be solid because it's still Blade Runner, and I know Ridley Scott's still producing it, but the trailer very much makes it seem like this is a world that needs sort of that not necessarily grander scale. It's very much a grounded scaled universe, but there's something about the way it's presented in the cinematic format that I'm not sure will translate as well to television. Which I
Yeah.
mean, we'll see, but the trailer just hasn't blown me away. The aesthetics look nice. They look like Blade Runner aesthetics, but this is 50 years later and it doesn't scream 50 years later, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm skeptical just because of how long it's been in development. Like, yes, it's a spinning off a great two films, but we had a Dune TV show that was spinning off the films that had the same sort of disastrous development cycle before it came out. And that one ended up being decent. Like it wasn't mind blowing. It wasn't anywhere near as good as the films that preceded it, and I don't expect this either. We've got some bigger name actors in it, with Michelle Yeoh, of course, who is an Academy Award winner, but that has not stopped her from starring in terrible, terrible movies.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this comes back out in November. Do we know why it got delayed? It's weird that it got filmed so long ago. It
I'm
didn't come out.
honestly not sure. This was a weird one because I've been hearing about this for a couple of years now, and
No.
it's sort of like it just it feel like you get an update about it and then radio silence for months and months at a time, and then every now and again, every like sporadically, every once in a while, something would come up.
I just think it's weird. Like I usually hear the delays are while it's being developed, a new director or actors in or out or new screen, but they already filmed it and then waited 2 years.
Maybe delays in the editing room is always possible. There's always
Yeah,
the
no, but
possibility of clashing in the editing room, editors not getting along and disagreeing on how to do things for extended periods of time.
well, I'm assuming that is what happened. It's just weird. I don't think that's usually what happens. Partly because they spent so much money developing and filming it that you want to get it out. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, we'll keep an eye for that in November. What was happening? I guess there was some Marvel news.
Marvel had a lot of things which I have very mixed reactions about. Their first major announcement was regarding a casting for the first movie that will be released after the end of the multiverse saga
Hmm.
with Ghost Rider, which is set to release in theaters in 2028. Ryan Gosling will be making his Marvel debut as the title character in the film, which I'm actually kind of okay with. He probably wouldn't have been my first pick for the role, but I can see it. And then they announced the director, and any possible interest I could have had in this movie just went
Because who's the director?
Sean Levy. I know some people like his style of films. I don't. I hate them. I think they're not. good, especially his more recent.
What did he do otherwise?
His older stuff was charming. Like he did the original Night at the Museum trilogy, like that was fine, Real Steel.
Mm,
But then he went on hiatus for like 7 years and came back with the absolute disaster that was Free Guy. And then he did the
mm.
Atom Project, and then Deadpool and Wolverine, which made $1 billion and everyone liked, but it was so boring and
But didn't
painful.
Free Guy make a lot of money too?
I'm pretty sure, but it was
Yeah,
so bad. It was terrible. I liked it when I was 16, but I'm not
yeah.
16 and I've gained basic ability to comprehend films beyond just, haha, he's got a lightsaber, guys.
Okay.
I do think the common denominator with those films at the bare minimum was Ryan Reynolds, though, who I also do not
Yeah,
like. Part of me
yeah.
is hoping because there's also going to be 3 years between Levy's last couple films, as opposed to he went like bang, bang, bang with Free Guy in
Hmm
2021, Atom Project in 2022, and Deadpool in 2024. And
hmm
Deadpool he shot very late. Like they wrapped production like a month before the movie came out. It was obscene
Wow.
how it turned out being the success that it was is beyond me, but
Yeah.
they they managed to get it out, and now he's working with Gosling for Star Wars Starfighter, which comes out next year, which unlike Deadpool and Wolverine, which wrapped production a month before release, this one wrapped a year and a half before release. So they actually have time to, edit it and work with colors and stuff. So part of me thinks maybe it won't be terrible, and I do like Gosling a lot more than Reynolds. So, and
Yeah.
supposedly the movie was Reynolds' idea. Not Reynolds, Gosling's idea. He pitched it because he's apparently a big Ghost Rider fan. He's been petitioning for the role for a while. So him and Levy developed it while working on Starfighter. Um,
Mm.
that said, it's Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider's whole shtick is that he dies and gets resurrected as a demon from hell to exact vengeance upon the mortal realm. I don't think the guy who directed Free Guy and Night at the Museum is exactly fit for that. I don't really think this is his style, regardless of whether or not one likes his work. Like, it's just not. I don't understand.
Not a good fit.
No. I
Mhm.
would have loved to see Sam Raimi do his take on it because Sam Raimi is no stranger to like horror and like, but also goofy horror at points where it's like okay with being cartoonish and over the top. And he's no stranger to comic book movies either. I mean, he's got the Evil Dead to his name. He's got the
Mm.
Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy to his name.
All right. Well,
I
I
would
guess
have
we're
liked,
stuck. So,
yeah, we're stuck. This comes out in 2028. No set date, just sometime in 2028.
hey, what else does Marvel got going?
This is the only thing they really announced that was like legitimately exciting to me, but hot off of his Oscar win, Ryan Coogler is returning to Marvel to finish the Black Panther trilogy. The third film will release December 15th, 2028, and it's Ryan Coogler. I'm there. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch all of them. This is just the only one I'm enthusiastic about watching.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We get a little bit of casting. Letitia Wright, who plays Shuri in the films, who is T'Challa's sister, who takes on the Black Panther mantle after his death, will return.
hmm
But the cast is joined. Just a little bit of background. At the end of the last film, Wakanda Forever, which was 4 years ago now, the post-credit scene revealed that T'Challa, prior to his death, had had a secret son
Okay.
who is by default the heir to the Wakandan throne and the mantle. So it
hmm
sounds like this film is going to age him up, and he's
Okay.
going to be portrayed by David Johnson, who previously starred in films like Alien Romulus and The Long Walk. If you have not seen The Long Walk, to anyone watching, go do it. He is insane in the movie. That alone will sell you on him as a performer and why
Hmm.
he is like perfect for this role. I've seen people fan cast other people for the role, but I am completely okay with this. He's an amazing actor. And even better, Ryan Coogler is going to shoot the film on large format celluloid film. So I'm talking film tapes as opposed to digital cameras specifically designed with larger formats like 70 millimeter IMAX in mind. So this is going to be one that's
Yeah.
going to be built on like genuine like scale and spectacle and sort of just the magic of real film as opposed to digital camera. Because like digital cameras are effective for a lot of things, but there's something about that sort of like filmic
Hmm.
graininess,
Yeah, that should be interesting.
quality.
Um,
He
yeah.
shot Sinners on film as well, so he's been leaning towards film. He learned how to use IMAX
Well,
cameras on Sinners.
but the only thing that'll be interesting here is because there's a lot more CGI needed for a Black Panther movie, isn't there? So like where Sinners, you didn't really need any of it. So
Yeah,
how do
but
you merge the CGI stuff with these with the film method?
Dune's doing it. And I feel like the thing with him is he's going to do it more practical anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, he's learned from the best. Christopher Nolan himself mentored him while filming Sinners how to use the IMAX camera.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we'll see here. Is he going to do it on the same IMAX cameras as Nolan did, or
we're not
just
sure. I mean, the same,
so
there's
not IMAX necessarily, but
probably something real similar to that. Because again, I'm gonna take a wild guess and assume 65 millimeter film. They didn't specify what kind of large
mhm.
format film, but I'm gonna guess 65 millimeter, which is what Dune 3 is shot on.
Okay. All right. All right. So that's
I
a good
am
one.
excited for this one. That is
When do we know when it comes out? 2028 as well. Got it.
December 15th. This is gonna be their big Christmas blockbuster.
All
So
right. We're gonna have a lot of movies there. Yeah. All right. And I guess there's some new news on Avengers.
yeah, my enthusiasm for this movie is barely existent, if at all. Everything they show of this movie, the less interested everything they say about this movie, the less interested I am. All went downhill when they announced Robert Downey Jr. was coming back to play Doctor Doom for some reason.
Yeah.
That was like the last straw, but it was
So
also the first
they're
straw.
still doing that, huh? He's gonna be Doctor Doom.
Yeah. Um, I'm not sold on this movie. They released the trailer on Monday instead of saving it for the con last Monday, not this Monday, instead
Right.
of saving it for the con, which was an interesting choice. I mean, they put tickets up early for their Infinity Vision format, which is not actually a format, but a certification for existing premium formats, for premium formats that are non-IMAX, because they couldn't get IMAX because Dune 3 booked it way in advance, and Kevin Feige got butthurt about that. So he said, I'm going to make a fake format that's not actually a format. We're going to make people think it's a format. We're going to market it really weird, so nobody's going to have any idea what it means. And then when they're going to find out it means absolutely nothing, they're going to be all weirded out. It's a whole thing that I don't want to really get into much further because I genuinely don't understand what the thought process there was. But uh,
Well, it seems like when you want to be premium, there's no more premium than IMAX. It's like the premium
and
premium.
IMAX is the only one that does A, exclusivity windows, and B, locks in those exclusivity windows ages in advance. And when
Yeah.
you're someone, and they're also not someone who budges because Feige tries to bribe you into giving you, like, no, they locked it in. Dune is
Right.
getting 3 weeks of exclusivity. The earliest Doomsday could be screened in IMAX is January 12th
Yeah.
for and
Uh,
release is December
That's the way
18th.
it goes. And they get that because they have scarcity because they don't have that many theaters, right? So it's
Yeah,
like, yeah.
supply and demand, and someone else
All right.
took the supply
So
first.
tell me what else about this. What? So you weren't big on the trailer,
The trailer did not impress me. They were trying to make it seem like they were going to do what Infinity War did and win everyone over. And well, the Infinity War
mm,
didn't have to win everyone over because Infinity War had 7 years of build-up that felt earned. We
hmm
built up to this. We'd been building to this since the first Avengers movie, or really since the first Thor movie when we introduced the concept of Infinity Stones, which at that point was 6 years earlier.
right?
Here we have
Yeah.
had none of that build-up. So now they're not. giving us the big thing we've been waiting for that they've been building to. Now they have to win people. I mean, a lot of people are going to go anyway because a lot of people have decided that, oh, but the X-Men are here from the old X-Men movies. They're back again, even though we've said good, even though we've had like four different movies specifically designed to be farewells and send-offs to them. It's like,
But
okay,
to here again, yeah.
we've been here, we've done that before. Um, None of the character interact. They didn't show too many character interactions. We just have a monologue from Thor talking about how big and scary Doctor Doom is. It's like he has a vague monologue that doesn't. It's like if you have to tell me how scary this guy is, I don't care.
But I
Thanos,
guess they're going to keep building up to go see Doom. That's going to be the big thing, I think.
yeah, I think back to the last saga with Thanos. Thanos, they teased for the first time in the original Avengers movie. He was a brief cameo at the end. He just turns around when yeah,
Yeah.
he just turns around. You see his face for a split second after his like right hand man, his like advisor reports to him saying that Loki's invasion has failed. But it goes back that far, and we had two other Avengers
Right.
movies. The problem is that
Yeah.
they're treating this like Avengers Infinity War, which was the third Avengers movie. They're treating this like the third movie of a four-part series without the first two parts. Because I
Well,
think
but again, I think it's all because they got Doom in there, and I think people are going to come to see Doctor Doom.
they're not banking on Doom, they're banking on Robert Downey Jr.
Well, Robert Downey Jr. as Doom because I think everybody wants to see Robert Downey Jr.
And even worse, they're bringing Chris Evans back as Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
He technically didn't die, but his story ended at a natural and appropriate point.
Yeah.
I don't understand why he's back. Like Thor being back is fine because his story is not over yet. Like he had another movie after Endgame. It wasn't a very good movie, but it was still there. So
Yeah.
he's still around. He needs closure, but like Steve got his closure, and I don't get why he's here. I don't I feel like it clutters the movie, and I feel like that's the issue. People will try to defend this by saying, "Oh, Infinity War had a lot of characters too." Infinity War had two teams, the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Both of those teams had had two movies beforehand. The Guardians had two movies, and the Avengers had two movies as a team. And then the Avengers also had Captain America Civil War, which showed the team breaking apart.
No, but as you say, they built each of these pieces over time and then just brought it together with Infinity War.
They brought them together,
Here,
they connected them together too.
like if they just released Infinity War without all the other movies, people would be like, "What in the world is this about?"
And the thing is, even then, both of the teams, the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy, they had connections to Thanos already. They had an established history with him, even if not directly. With the Guardians, Gamora and Nebula were his adopted daughters. And with the Avengers, Thanos orchestrated Loki's attack on New York in the first Avengers, which severely affected them. Tony Stark had PTSD from the Battle of New York. So
Yeah.
he's like, okay, everything that happened to me then, this guy is behind it all. It's like you have that here,
Yeah, you
but
got to build it up. So, because is there anything odd about this story then, or not really?
we sort of have a basic idea. It's going to tie back to the incursions, which were introduced in Doctor Strange 2 and then never followed up on, where they're like multiversal events where like universes are colliding together and trying to
Mhm.
kill each other to save their own universes. And Doctor Doom's like, I know a way to stop them, but it's Doctor Doom. He's not actually trying to stop them. He's trying to destroy everything and make his own world
Hmm.
because he
The
thinks he's
whole
better.
multiverse, multi-world things get, I don't know, feels very confusing.
I think the thing that hurts it is they use it to bring in old Marvel characters, which means that now if you want to care about a third of this movie's cast, not only do you have to watch all the movies in this universe, but you have to watch all the movies in two other universes, which are two other film franchises.
Well, also, I just feel like every story, it seems like when you want a way out of the story or to change the story or you just go to another universe and you can repeat the story or change and reintroduce character. I'm sure Steve Rogers coming back has something to do with alternative universes.
Yeah, I've heard rumblings and like rumors where his whole shtick is that when he went back in time to live the life he wanted at the end of Avengers Endgame, there's like people saying that that is what started all the incursions, and so they have to bring him back out of his time displacement so that
Okay.
he can fix the problem because yada yada, whatever he did inadvertently killed Doom's family or something. They're pushing Doom being Steve's arch nemesis, which I don't like because that's not how it's supposed to go in literally any comic ever. I'm not a huge comic person, but even I know Doctor Doom's arch nemesis is Mr. Fantastic, not Captain America, Mr. Fantastic, who is in the
Mm.
movie, by the way. They have no known history yet. I mean, there was a second trailer that they showed exclusively at Comic-Con on a really low quality version of it leaked, and the way they talk to each other implies that they know each other, but like we don't have that history, and this is a two-part movie. We're getting Doomsday this year and Secret Wars next year. And
Uh,
I have a friend, my friend Don, who's been on the show before, knows a lot more about comics. And as far as I'm aware, the rivalry between Doom and Reed is kind of crucial to adapting that storyline. So if you're going to make his rival Steve Rogers, I don't really think that's going to work so well.
well, if it's Steve Rogers, it's also coming back and also central to the story. Yeah, that's tough. Like, if they're just bringing him back to make some plot point, one thing, but yeah.
One thing I will say is I do appreciate the fact that they're not trying to make Steve sort of put the Captain America uniform back on and take the shield back up. Like in the movie,
Mm,
he's depicted wearing a t-shirt and khakis, and he's not wielding the shield. He's using Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, because in Endgame he was proven at the very end of Endgame. It's like they've been teasing it forever, but they showed he was actually worthy to wield it the whole time.
mm,
So it looks like he's going to be using that because at the very end of the trailer, you see sort of the moment where him and Thor reunite, and Thor's like, "It's not possible," and Steve calls the hammer to him to, I guess, prove that it is in fact him and not some like crazy evil multiverse doppelganger.
mm. All right, so we got a lot of stuff going on Marvel. Sounds like it's gonna be an interesting time.
Yeah. Speaking of Marvel,
Yeah. So what's next for you? What's the next movie?
Spider-Man, brand new
Yeah, this is gonna be good. I've seen the news about this all over the place. Comes
yeah
out when? Thursday?
Friday.
Friday. You got
My
tickets?
yep. I'm very skeptical about this movie because the trailers have not sold me very much, and I don't trust Sony's executives to not stick their grimy corporate fingers into the creative process where
Mm,
they definitely do not belong.
yeah.
But we'll
Well, we'll
see.
see. I
Early,
mean, Tom
early,
Holland, he's been Spider-Man a long time. He's getting pretty good at it now. So,
yeah, yeah. Early impressions are mostly pretty positive. It debuted with like a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes today, so
okay, that's pretty good. So,
we'll see. Well, we'll discuss it next week, I
we'll
suppose.
discuss it next week then. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that sounds like we've got a lot of good stuff going on. So, we'll talk again next week, and that's a wrap.
That is, and